Let's move on to the next team in the Pacific Division, which is the Phoenix Suns. They're having, I mean, they've seen better years. So they're buyers, I think, by default when you're sort of looking at them. But their value of their 2023 draft pick has increased as well. The things I'm watching for, yeah, we know they're going to move Jay Crowder because it would be fucking stupid not to. And if they don't, we need to have a conversation about why it wasn't done over the offseason. But if they don't, like that would just be malpractice. It was reported by Woj that the sale is going to be finalized before the trade deadline. So I guess you can make last minute decisions, but does that, like, what else goes into that? Is it going to hold up their business at the trade deadline at all? And two, like, they've just been notoriously hesitant to make major moves under James Jones. I know they traded for Chris Paul. That was a trade. So just like in terms of being too risk averse, I would argue that's where they've ended up with with James Jones here, excuse me. And I'm curious as to whether, like, would they be willing to make, I don't want to even call it a blockbuster move, but a risky move to where, are you going to give up a first round pick? Are you willing to even move DeAndre Ayton, who's trade eligible? I have so many questions about them, and they've been linked to like some, not Flash, but they've been linked to Fred VanVleet as an example. And that's someone I actually really like for them. But like, do you have the guts to go in with an Ayton package or a picks package that's going to bring you back Fred VanVleet? And they do not seem like the franchise that would be, willing to do that. So those are my questions. And I think they need shot creation. They could use even like the player that everyone thought Landry Shamet was going to be 4 or 5 years ago would be good for them. And then just like they need more kind of like that 4 bigger, like Jay Crowder, but like maybe an upgrade over Jay Crowder would be huge for this team. Someone in addition to Cam Johnson, obviously. So they have needs. It's just, are they going to go about like trying to fill them? Like, do you see this team being, and I think what's also complicated them is we're past the point of, okay, maybe an Eric Gordon trade solves this, because I don't think you could trade for Eric Gordon and that would be the safe move. I don't think it costs you a first round pick anymore. But like, what is that? What are we doing there at that point? It's kind of this stopgap, cutesy little stopgap. So I would still make the move. It's not costing me a first round pick and I'm just giving them salary and seconds. However, it feels like they need a move now on a larger scale of that. And that's we know Devin Booker will come back. Cam Johnson's already back. Chris Paul has been playing better. I don't think people have talked. They just written him off, which is fine. Like, he's getting older, but I think even the decline was sort of overstated. He gets targeted on defense more. His offense has not been like this abomination. But I will say, kind of knowing the limitations to Mikal Bridges' second and third layers of his offensive game, and just how flat out, to put it kindly, enigmatic DeAndre Ayton has been this season, it feels like they need more than they got Eric Gordon and KJ Martin from the Rockets.
Yeah, I think I might be a little more inclined to put the picks in play if I were them. And I wonder if, just to throw a name out there, like they have the expiring salary or pretty close to it between Crowder and Saric, and maybe they got to do a little bit more. I haven't run this through the trade machine, but they're close to, just like, would the Hawks take those guys and however many picks you need for John Collins? Like, and again, we've talked every week about how John Collins' value is like, nobody knows what it is. But like, if you're going to bring the picks into play, then I think suddenly just whatever name is atop the available players list becomes reasonable. Just because the Suns have movable, come off the books salary that they can get to a good enough number to where you're just not really trading for those players. You want that cap relief. Maybe they'll be okay for you. Like a team like the Hawks could actually use Jay Crowder. But something like that feels plausible to me, just because I think you got to at least see what you can do with this roster this season. And then later on, you can decide what to do with Ayton. You can decide, what to do, I guess, with Chris Paul. But like, adding a big piece and putting those picks on the table, I think is a possibility that, is probably not getting enough attention. I don't know. So yeah, that would be what I would be looking for, just because, to double all the way back, like, the Jay Crowder thing is such an impossible situation because they just need a guy like Jay Crowder from a team that presumably has one that would also want Jay Crowder. So why are you giving up your Jay Crowder facsimile for another one when the real deal has like quit on his team and been away for like it's an impossible situation to get like value just for Crowder. So I think you have to throw the picks in. You have to combine his salary if you really want like a value add acquisition.
It's I guess what's tough is because it doesn't seem like that if Pascal Siakam became available. Okay, well
Oh
that
yeah.
makes a ton of sense for them to do. But
Mhm.
like that level of player doesn't even seem available. Maybe Fred VanVleet is the closest that we come. I think that they should be even more aggressive. It's like, oh, Gary Trent Jr., someone who's going to be a free agent, smaller than maybe you want, but like you could definitely play him with. You can run Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, and Devin Booker with Gary Trent Jr. and then have Ayton at the 5 if you wanted to go
Mhm.
that route. Like you could play that. So I think they need to be even more aggressive in searching for those types of moves where it's okay, this player is going to make more of an impact of Eric Gordon, but no, he's not a star. And yes, I'm putting my pick on the table. You probably protect it more than you would if it's 4-star, clearly, especially given what feels like higher variance outcomes for them this year. The trade that I actually have for them, and it's focused on Fred VanVleet. I think what's tough is we need to know what the Raptors would actually want. But we talked about this trade a little bit. I changed the framework of it on the last podcast, but the Suns get Chris Boucher, Rashawn Holmes, Fred VanVleet. The Kings get Jay Crowder. The Raptors receive DeAndre Ayton, Cameron Payne, and a 2024 second round pick from Sacramento, and then Portland's 2025 second round pick from Sacramento. My concerns here, and Raptors fans pointed this out on YouTube, was the Raptors are losing just basically like half of their or a third of their shot creation going from Van Vliet to Ayton. But if the Raptors were actually interested in Ayton over the summer and they seem obsessed with having a big man now, or if they're pivoting into this retool and you're getting rid of Van Vliet, like the goal isn't to get another shot creator. I think what you
Yeah.
can argue is would they prefer the picks package? And so like the picks package from Phoenix's end of the spectrum looks something like Dario Saric, Jay Crowder, campaign you throw in there, and then like how many picks do you need to get that done? Just straight, let's talk straight up with Toronto. And so I'm asking you that, and then would you? I guess first this deal, who says no to it? Like looking at this 3-team trade, because I think what I just asked you though kind of informs if you're the Raptors, are you leaning towards the? And it depends on how you view DeAndre Ayton's contract at this point, where he has 3 years and 102 million left on it. I don't think that he's bad value. And I think he would help the Raptors even next to Siakam, but it does throw your spacing off. It does make your half court offense more reliant on Siakam and Scotty Barnes needing to do things. And maybe even are you keeping Gary Trent Jr. in this scenario? But if you like Ayton and you want a big, like that's someone who fits more of the retool than if you go picks, because you're not going to replace Fred VanVleet in free agency. Like you're not all of a sudden going to have cap space.
Right.
So if you go the picks route, you're kind of saying steering closer to the rebuilding phase, or at least saying, well, we're going to flip these picks for someone else who elevates our shot creation.
Yeah. So a couple things. I think if I'm Toronto, I'm doing this immediately. Just because I'm uncomfortable with the possibility of having to pay Van Fleet if he opts out, what it might cost to keep him. I'm just, he was never a high efficiency shooter and scorer, and he's a small guard, and just the small guard aging curve is what it is. I think I might want to get out a year too soon than too late. And that's why I also kind of, I don't, I understand the theory of Van Vliet with Phoenix. It's hard for me to get there. So for those reasons and just the fit, I think just him and Chris Paul together is
I love
they're
it.
they're so small. I
I
mean,
love it.
him and Lowry worked. Lowry's a little bit of a different player. So I'm doing this if I'm Toronto, and I do want this more than a pick package, just because Aiton, weird as it is to say and wrong as it might turn out to be, given some of the hints we've had that like he might not be the most into basketball, like some of the attitude, work ethic stuff, I think has been reported to be dubious.
You could also
Um,
just be mad at the Suns, I feel like
that's
too.
the
But
thing. I think this is a buy low opportunity, which is weird to say for a guy who's got 100 million left coming, the next 3 years. But I like the age that he fits into the age band. Siakam's a little older, but he fills you no longer question what the Raptors will do at center. I think there's a scenario where he does eventually bring enough stretch to really kind of add some dynamism to that offense and would get on the offensive board. Just like, yeah, I want DeAndre Ayton if I can get him for Van Vliet, and Boucher is the only other guy in here, and then like I'm good with that. I'm happy to do that.
So if you're Toronto, you don't even need the picks that you're getting. That like you could send those to Phoenix.
No, because yeah, I'm fine because I view Van Vliet as an expiring contract that I'm not totally sure I want back at what it's going to cost to get him. So if the
And it's funny,
alternative is I
I guess
lose
he's
him,
older. I view him as the more valuable playoff player, but I guess in the context of Phoenix's roster, I get you're good. So it's a no from Phoenix's end for you.
if I'm in charge of Phoenix, I don't think I'm doing that. And I like Van Vliet. It's weird. I feel like I'm shitting on him, but
No, I
I
mean, I
like
get
him.
Booker, Paul, Van Vliet. That's a lot committed to the backcourt. How long? There are also workable deals if you wanted to, and you were Toronto, you want to go the picks route. It's Chris Paul and picks for Fred
Yeah,
Van Vliet. Like that's the structure you could go with. I'm just thinking Chris Paul's gone after next year, and so you're talking about 1 year of going smaller. And the way that the Suns have been able to just plug and play like Bismack Biyombo or Jock Landale into the 5 spot and have it work out.
right.
Imagine what they're going to be able to do with Chris Boucher and Rashawn Holmes. And so I'm just wondering, like, I get it. I totally get it. I think I actually like this more for Phoenix than I do for Toronto, though. And I would, by
Yeah,
the way, I would do it if I'm Sacramento, if anyone cares.
yeah. Sacramento's 100% on board here. Yeah, there's no doubt about that one. Oh, that's a good trade though.